Oh, it's time to spin the slot machine, and let's see who the wheel brings up of our spread guys. Dave Stewart, is it going to be Chef?
I got get 'em out stuff today.
Oh, it's Boomer. David Wells joining us on the spread.
So do you know any of the former players that used to play for the Yankees?
Yeah.
David Wells in a fight against CeCe Sabathia, who would win in that fight?
I'll say David Wells.
Why David Wells?
I don't know, he just has that look in him.
Oh, CeCe by far.
CeCe by far. Do you know what David Wells is like doing right now? Like in his spare time?
No idea.
He lives in Canada, doesn't he? Fishing?
He's actually right behind you.
You've been boomed. Oh, boom.
21-year veteran, three-time All-Star David Wells on the spread. Boomer, good to see you, man. What was this context of that little skit in New York City a number of years ago?
They just asked us to go out there and do that. They were going to ask questions because I was the boom man. So I have the boom and then the boom. And so if they got out of line a little bit, that one guy said TC was going to kick my butt, he's going to get boom.
Got it.
Just hit him in the head with the boom.
The boom. Boomer on the boom. I like it. Hey, fill people in, man. It's been a while since we've seen you, since your last year in the big leagues. I know you've been in and out of the booth. You've done a lot of things. Where are you at now? What are you up to?
We left California. We're in Florida now. We got out of all that mess, all the politics and all that. It's just mandates. I'm not a mandate guy. You know me. I never lived by the rules. Occasionally I did, but so we're happy out in Florida, but it won't be for the summertime. I'll tell you that because it's too dang hot down here. It's miserable.
So, along the lines of not living by the rules, one of the things that makes me laugh to this day that I think about when you and I were together in San Diego a number of years ago is at one point you were issued some league discipline. Bob Watson, who was then the kind of czar of discipline for Major League Baseball, wrote you a letter and fined you. And your response was to make 100 copies of the letter and post it in the Padres' home clubhouse in very defiant manner. What was the most severe discipline you received for the league, and what did you do to garner it?
Well, and I think it was in 2001 or 2, I think one when I wrote the book, Perfect I'm Not. And the Yankees did not like it. The media ran with it. It was my fault to begin with. I didn't read, a lot of the galleys in it. And they asked me about the steroids, what are the percentage? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't pay attention to who does it. But I said maybe 10, 15% of the guys do it. I said, I don't know. I just took a guess. I got hammered on that. This and that. So the Yankees ended up fining me like $162,000 for that. So I told them, as long as you let me promote the book, we'll call it even. And they kind of reneged on that. And so I promoted it anyway. So if they're going to lie, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. It seemed to happen a lot in my career.
Yeah, and I guess the consummate episode for you was the Babe Ruth hat that you wore to the mound that you pitched in, and then they made you take it off, and as soon as you took it off, the karma changed. You still have the hat?
I do not. So I moved back to San Diego, in 04, and I think in 05 or 06. Remember when the fires came blazing through there?
Yeah.
So Trevor Hoffman and I were neighbors, and so we got evacuated, and I took because I have a big collection, big collection of a lot of things, music and baseball and all that. So I took the hat, and I'm like, and then the other fire came through a couple years later. So I said, if there's any time to get rid of the hat, now is the time. So I put it in an auction, and the money we made from that, my wife took the money and bought a condo in Florida, and we're living in that now until we build a house.
That worked out pretty well, I would say.
Thank you, Babe Ruth, man. Yeah. That boy keeps ticking.
I know.
I took a lot of heat because I bought it for $35,000, and they were just like, "You're crazy." I said, "It's my money. I'm a fan. Who cares?" And I ended up selling it for $600,000. So that was pretty good.
It's a pretty good return
on
investment.
That.
Yeah, you did okay on that one.
Who's the dummy now?
I know you've got a bunch of really cool guitars in your collection. You talk about collecting music stuff. What are among the other baseball artifacts that you have? What are you most proud of?
You know, I have a really cool baseball, and it's one of a kind. And so when I was playing, I bought a Babe Ruth ball, and we went down to play the Braves, and I took it in, and Hank Aaron signed it for me. And then in '04, when I was with the Padres, we were playing the Giants, and Barry came over, and I walked over to the visiting side, and I had Barry sign it, and so I've got the 700 home run club. It's pretty cool.
Wow, and
it's
that's
very cool, unique ball to have.
Kind of a personal thing too, since you had Barry sign it yourself. Hey, I want to talk to you about, because you, I don't know if you were always a superstitious guy when you pitched, but in terms of baseball culture and superstition, one of the ones you believe in the strongest is not talking about a no-hitter during a no-hit bid, to the point that you don't even think broadcasters should mention it on the air. Do you still feel like you did 15 years ago on that point?
Well, I do. I mean, superstitious, but it got so weird during that game where I just felt I was alone in my own little world, which you normally are in that situation. So I think I remember going up, sitting next to Scott Brocious and Tino, and and they both got up and walked away from me. So like I'd walk down the dugout, and they would just get out of my way and not come near me, not do anything. I think it was in the fourth inning, and I walked up into the players' lounge to get a water, and I heard Michael Kay and John Sterling talk about David Wells got a perfect, and I ran out of that room so quick I didn't want to hear it, and I just was like, you know, to me it's just got to get your mind off of it, do whatever, think of something else. And then in the eighth inning, David Cohn, he came up, he's like, hey, break out your knuckleball. And I'm like, what? Break out a knuckleball? I don't throw a knuckleball. And he goes, yeah, you do. We play catch every day. I'm like, Coney, I'm not throwing a knuckleball. But I knew what he was doing then. He was just getting my mind off of what was going on out there on the mound, and it worked.
And we learned many years later, well, not too many years later, but some years later when you wrote your autobiography, that the night before the perfect game, Boomer was out running the streets a little bit. You went to an SNL rap party the night before. Tell us about that.
No, it was the night before, just SNL, their party. That they had the show. I go to the show, get carte blanche. Lauren Michael is a dear, dear friend. Love him to death. And I had carte blanche at SNL. So I went there, and then Marcy Klein, who hires all the talent, says, you coming to the after party? I said, no, I got to pitch tomorrow. And she goes, you know, Dennis Rodman had his best game ever after an SNL party. I said, well, I'm not Dennis Rodman, sorry. And so she started egging me on, called me a couple expletives. So I'm like, all right, let's go. So I went, and about 5:30 in the morning, I come strolling, Jimmy Fallon and I'm obliviated. I mean, it was just the stupidest thing you could possibly do. Got a couple hours of sleep and about 10 cups of coffee, and history was made.
That's unbelievable. But they always said, as you know, they always said about you, Boomer could roll out of bed and throw strikes, and you truly did that on that day in '98. Hey, one last thing, one last thought from you, because, you know, the DH is universal now. The days of hitting pitchers are gone. Is there a small part of you that misses that? And you know, you never would have had your knocks past the age of 40 had this been the rule back then. Here we go. You're 44 years old here, dude.
And look who I hit it off of. The master, probably one of the best pitchers in history, Greg Maddux, 2 for 3. I think we knocked him out in the third or fourth inning to take the W. So, yeah, I mean, I wasn't big on hitting, though, Matt. I wasn't big on it because I always jammed myself or hit it off the end of the bat, so I always swung at the first pitch. But I think it's, you know, it's cool at age 44 to get 2 knocks. You know, at least I hit over 100 and not under 100 in my career. But, you know, it's pretty cool. And then you see Ohtani, who's a shortstop and a pitcher and hits and does everything. I think it's great. It's great for the game. And he's a stud in both categories.
Boomer, it's good to see you, man. Thanks for coming on the show with us. We've been trying to track you down ever since we started. You were like top of the list for guys we wanted to put on the spread. So it's great having you on the program, and we hope we can do it again down the road.
Maddie, you got my number, so I'm easy to get a hold of. I'm yours, buddy.